So Jessica, welcome. Glad to have you back. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. First and foremost, you are muted. This is a webinar format. If you'd like to communicate with Jessica or myself, at the bottom of the page, there is a Q&A. Feel free to put a question in that you might like addressed, and we will see if we can work back in at the end of the presentation, or use the chat feature to send a message to either of us. I will be monitoring the Q&A and the chat while Jessica is presenting her information. And along those notes, unless you want to be looking at me most of this time as well, at the top of your screen, you can check the box for speaker view. That will give you just Jessica as she is speaking and going through this material. So with that, welcome. My name is Matt Patton. I'm the CEO here at Cutler Investment Group. We're really excited to have you join us. Jessica Alvarez has done our cybersecurity webinar series. And she'll be talking about that a little bit later, but it is always one of our more popular events. I'm excited to hear it. And based on the number of people that have joined in, you're excited to hear it as well. So this is a series of webinars on financial and non-financial items. Obviously, today is cybersecurity that we occasionally do and hope you will find useful. Everyone is muted. It will be posted to our website later today if you want to review any of it. And at the end of this, if you have questions or concerns or would like to talk about it a little bit more, get you on the phone with Jessica, and we'll see if we could be of any help. So, Jessica, welcome.
Yes, thank you, Matt, and hello, and thank you to everyone for joining me today. As Matt said, this is my latest episode in my series of cybersecurity webinars. I think that this is my sixth one. And while I try not to repeat too many of the same tips in each segment, there inevitably will be some overlap in some of the tips and suggestions that I give. However, that does bode well for any of you who have seen my previous 5 sessions, because there's this old marketing adage of 6 to stick, which means you have to hear something at least 6 times for it to stick in your head for the long run. So for those of you who have seen the previous 5, you are on your 6th, and it's going to be in your head forever. But for those of you who may have missed my other sessions, or if you're perhaps a new client, fear not. All of the previous sessions are up on our website, cutler.com, in the commentary section, if you ever want to review them for a little refresher on the material. All right, first off here, let's start with the disclaimer page, because I wouldn't be a good compliance and cybersecurity professional if I didn't give a disclaimer before I spoke. So these are my opinions and opinions of Cutler Investment Group as of today, and they're subject to change. And none of these are supposed to be any recommendation to buy or sell any securities. So with that, the housekeeping items are out of the way. Let's move on to the meat of the presentation. 2020. Okay, it's been a year. We've made it through Tiger King, murder hornets, Kobe Bryant, social distancing, virtual happy hours, TikTok dance crazes, that one weird video where all those celebrities sang that song Imagine, empty sports stadiums, and not to mention the US presidential election and all of the surrounding elements to that, which I'm not even going to touch on today. And all of this while enduring a global pandemic. And we still have 43 days left in the year. I actually read a statistic or an article the other day that said that grocery stores and online stores were preparing for an unprecedented amount of champagne sales for this coming New Year's Eve, as we are all gearing up to put this tumultuous year in the history books and ring in 2021, which will hopefully be better for everyone. However, while we were all preoccupied with the events that I just mentioned, and then some, cyber criminals pounced on this opportunity to exploit any weaknesses in our cyber infrastructure. And they executed a massive, well, actually multiple massive attacks in new and increasingly sophisticated ways. So whether it's a hurricane, an election, or a global pandemic, cyber criminals often like to take advantage of disorder and get us when our shields are down and when we're not really paying attention. So I know that this slide at first glance is a little cluttered and disorganized and overwhelming, and it's probably how you might feel if you yourself try to Google cybersecurity tips during the pandemic and it returns 11.4 million results. But that's why you have Cutler and myself at your disposal to sift through all of this information. And yes, I did read all 110 must-know cybersecurity statistics for 2020. And as well as I talked to family and friends and colleagues about what they were experiencing in the cyber realm during this time. And I even watched a 2-hour documentary about Cambridge Analytica in my free time. So, hashtag nerd alert right here. But I'm okay with that. I'm genuinely interested in this information. So it's my pleasure to research it for you and to kind of digest it all and present it to you in a way that will hopefully be helpful and beneficial to your everyday lives. So let's get started with the tips. First up, we have tips to prevent charity fraud. And now this one has been one of the fastest growing and frankly easiest way for scammers to get your money. With the recent weather disasters and obviously the pandemic, this year has seen a large number of email fraud campaigns designed to solicit donations to organizations that don't even exist. Earlier this year, the World Health Organization in particular was a really popular one to spoof, and they even sent out a warning and email across all of their message boards about scammers who were trying to impersonate them through fake emails and fake websites. So now, while I don't want you to dissuade you from donating to reputable charities, as I know that the holiday and giving season is upon us, I just want to make sure that you're taking a few extra precautionary steps to make sure that your money is going where you actually intend it to go. So first, before you donate, just do a little research online about the charity that you want to give to. Scammers will often use urgent phrases or a natural disaster or a pandemic to get you to donate really quickly. Like as soon as you get the email or the notice, they'll make the donate here, donate now box really big. Or they'll use phrases like every second counts, every dollar counts to try to get you all ramped up and think that you have to act quickly when you really don't. So you just kind of want to take a breath and research before you donate. You can Google the name of the charity plus the word complaint or scam to see if anything comes up. And you can also use these organizations here that I've mentioned, the Better Business Bureau, Wise Giving Alliance, Charity Navigator, or GuideStar. And these all provide ratings and reports on charities and how they spend their money, so you can know how much is going to the actual charity or the benefit that you want to give to versus how much is overhead to administrative cost actually running the charity. And then also, better yet, when in doubt, give us a call here at Cutler. Give me a call or any of your advisors to see if we can do a little research on our end to help validate the charity that you want to give to. And it's always good to give us a call anyway when you want to make a donation so that we can maximize any tax or other financial benefits that you may get from doing such a charitable deed. So next, you'll also want to be careful about how the charity is asking you to pay. Scammers will often request cash or gift cards or for you to wire the money, and those should all be red flags. So checks and credit cards are the safest way to go, but you'll also want to keep a record of your donation and check your bank accounts after you've made the donation to make sure that it is in fact the correct amount that you intended to donate, and also that you don't sign up for possibly a recurring donation that you didn't want to, which is usually like in the fine print at the bottom, or you have to uncheck that box for a recurring monthly donation of $25. So that's another tip there. And then also just be mindful of the scammers' common tricks and how their minds work. Like, you shouldn't click on a link that you receive in the charity email to go to that website. You should then minimize your email and then go to your web browser directly and type in the name of the company to make sure you're actually going to the legitimate organization. That way, likewise, don't click or respond to any text messages that you get from charities. One, you don't want to respond to them like say yes, no, or stop, or just, kind of antagonize them in any way, because they will know that you're a real person, and you'll also get inundated with a bunch more spam emails or texts from that number. Also, another thing that they will do, which has actually gotten me before, well, it hasn't gotten me, but I've received one of these before where it said, "Thank you for donating to so-and-so charity." Got a text message like, "Your money is appreciated." And I was like, wait, I haven't donated money to anything. So that will get your attention. But remember, don't click, don't respond. And then that's how you will stay safe that way. But that is another really good one that gets you to click on it right away because you think, oh no, they've got access to my account, or maybe I donated when I wasn't thinking about it, or didn't know that I was doing that. So just be diligent in not clicking on any links when those things happen either. All right, so that is that tip. Then, if you had Zoom bombing on your 2020 bingo card, then you can go ahead and fill in that square, because this is a big one. And you probably haven't heard of it before this year, but according to Wikipedia, which, yes, it is large enough to warrant its own Wikipedia page, the definition of Zoom bombing or Zoom raiding refers to the unwanted disruptive intrusion, generally by internet trolls, into a video conference call. And this phrase obviously got its name from Zoom, which we are using today, and which saw a huge increase in demand and usage during the first few months of the pandemic. But it also does pertain to any other video conferencing platforms that you might use, Skype or Teams or Canvas. So it just so happens to be that Zoom was the front runner company when all of these attacks were happening, and when the phrase term was coined. So they got their name in the title. But just when I go on and refer to Zoom in this presentation, I'm just referring to all video conferencing platforms. So hopefully this has not happened to you or your business or your child's school, but it is a real threat and it continues to happen daily. So how do we prevent these unwanted participants from barging into our meetings? The first thing you want to do is make sure you're using the latest version of whatever software or application that you have. And this is a good practice for any software or application that you use. You always want to check for updates and download the latest version whenever it's possible. So for instance, Zoom, for their part, is constantly releasing new fixes and updates and bug fixes for this very problem of Zoom bombing. And actually, they just released an update this past weekend, the 14th and 15th, of 3 security updates, which pertain specifically to Zoom bombing. So I won't go into too much detail on how to do this, but there's usually a check for updates button on the mobile device, or you can just simply Google Zoom update or Skype update, and it'll give you instructions on how to get the latest version and see what version they're actually on. And then you'll want to make sure you enable all of the security features that Zoom and other platforms already have built in, but they just might be turned off for your meetings. And these include using meeting passcodes, enabling the waiting room function, so you have control over who you let into the meeting, and muting the video and audio for participants like we've done today, if it's just a presentation and not a collaborative meeting. And then lastly, if possible, you can have multiple hosts or panelists set up so that they can be in charge of running the back office technical part of the meeting while you are presenting. Like I have Matt here as my back office technician for today, who is monitoring the waiting room and is there to kick out any unwanted participants if they wanted to join. And he's also there to answer any of your questions in the chat box.
Which we have been getting questions, and Jessica, I think we might circle back at the end and see if we can address them for everybody. So I'll keep track of them and maybe throw them to you at the end there.
Okay, that's great. However, if you don't have that option or you don't have another person to help you out with your presentation, there is a feature where you can lock your meeting once it's started, which will prevent any other participants from getting in. So that is good for the Zoom and other types of video meetings. All right. And then moving on to, yes, contact tracing scams. And this one really is a COVID special. It's kind of cropped up just this year alone. And you're actually going to see a surge of this in the next couple of months as this pandemic continues to spread throughout the country, and as it is still a big media story, and as the real contact tracers from health professionals will be out there legitimately trying to get your information for their research purposes. This type of scam often comes in the form of a phone call or a text message, and they will say that they're calling to inform you that you have been in contact with someone who has COVID-19, and they just want to get a little more information about you. And this one's really tricky because the real contact tracers will also call you and will probably send you a text message beforehand saying that you've been in contact with someone who has COVID. You will be receiving a phone call shortly for information for research purposes. So it's really easy for hackers and scammers to spoof these health officials who are trying to gather this data on the pandemic. So once again, for the people in the back, don't click on any links you receive from a text or email like this. The FTC did say that legitimate contact tracers will often text you, but they will never ask you to respond to that text message, and there won't be any links or email or websites to go to within that text message. Also, if you get a phone call, scammers will often ask you for your social security number to verify the identity, your identity, so that they can tell you the identity of the person that you've been in contact with, or they'll want some type of payment up front. And all of those are red flags because the real contact tracers will never ask for your social security number, and they won't give you the identity of the person who you've been in contact with, who has COVID, and it's free. They won't ask you for money. So never give out your credit card or bank information over the phone, and definitely don't give out your social security number. And also remember, it's really easy to spoof a phone number or a caller ID. So you can't just look at the name on the phone alone, like if it's saying it's calling from University of Washington Healthcare, that doesn't mean it's legitimate. You can always ask the person for their name and phone number and who they work for, and ask them if you can call them back after you've done some research. And the real legitimate contact tracers are fine with this. They are used to it, and they know that that's an extra security precaution that people will want to take. So definitely watch out for that one in the coming months. Let's see here. Next. So those big three, or what I had for my 2020 and pandemic specific scams that we've been seeing this year. But it's always good to do a little refresher on the basics of cybersecurity to protect against, good old-fashioned credential hacking and malware attempts. So your first line of defense is always your password. You want to update it frequently. Make sure that it's long, usually a passphrase. You don't want to use the same password for multiple sites. Password managers are helpful for this. since I'm sure almost everything that you do now is online and you have 20, 30 plus passwords to remember, different logins. So a password manager can help you with that by having you know just one super strong master password that will unlock all of your encrypted passwords across the board. A few good recommendations for password managers are LastPass, Dashlane, and RoboForm. And secondly, please update and check your social media privacy settings often. The big ones like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat have all recently upgraded and updated their privacy settings so that you can really get detailed and secure about what information you want to share and with whom. And a lot of them will have a security health check or like a security rating or score to show you how you are currently protected and then what other settings you can enable to be even more secure. So if you saw my previous presentation on truepeoplesearch.com, then you know just how much of your information is already out there without your knowledge and probably without your permission, many of it coming from social media sites. So that's why you really want to make sure that that's locked down as much as possible. Next, you will want to use a VPN whenever you're on a Wi-Fi network that's not your home or your secured business network. And VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. And it basically makes your current connection private to only the people that are on that specific network, and it will mask your location and information from anyone else who is trying to spy on it or to get into your files or your information. So this is especially good to have if you're, well, it used to be if you were at Starbucks or the airport, but now most likely you have to remember if you use an Airbnb or a VRBO who has their own Wi-Fi and you're there for a week or two using their system, you want to make sure, even though it is a house, that you are using a VPN there just in case the host is trying to be malicious, or maybe even their neighbors know that it's a rental house and they have set up some sort of scamming system for that. And Google actually has their own, or has offered a VPN with some of its services. So you can look into that for free there, or there are other VPN. There are a lot of VPNs out there. So if you have any questions on them, or if there's a legitimate one, just let me know. And I can give you some good recommendations on which one would be best for you. And then lastly, we want to use two-factor authentication whenever possible. Most sites actually are offering this these days, and I always opt in whenever I can. The two-factor authentication is like they'll send you a text or call you or an email to verify that it's you. It's just an extra step once you enter your username or password, just to make sure that it's you and you know that you're logging into the site. So those are my quick tips there. And then as always, I know we've got some questions here that I will try to answer during our time, but if you think of any questions later on, or if you come across anything that you think are scams, feel free to give me a call. Like I said earlier, I am kind of a nerd when it comes to these things, and I like to hear about new scams. I like to do research on it. I like to kind of be in the know about what's happening. So feel free to give me a call or any of your other advisors at Cutler, and we will try to help you out.
All right, so great job, Jessica. Thank you. We've got a couple of questions that we'll probably follow up with people on, but a couple that I think we can probably send to you here. And one I'll just cover. We had a question regarding what was the the software password saver. What was the word there, Jessica? Your one password.
Password manager.
Thank you. Your password manager. And although Jessica did give a couple of suggestions there, here at Cutler we do use LastPass. It's a paid service, and there are plenty of them that are free as well. And then another question on if you receive a spam email, what do you do? And Jessica, I'm happy to cover that one unless you think you've got your answer ready up.
You can go ahead and take that one and I'll add anything.
Perfect. Perfect. So I think really when it comes to spam email, the thing that you're trying to identify, is it truly spam, or is it something that maybe you signed up for in the past that you just don't want to get anymore, right? So people use the word spam a lot for any email that they don't want to get. If it's something you signed up for previously and you just have decided you don't want it anymore, it's likely legitimate, and you can probably click the unsubscribe box at that point in time. Now, keep in mind, I say probably, and please review Jessica's email or Jessica's webinar from when was that? 2018, Jessica, where she talked about how to know if you are clicking on a legitimate link or not, right? So when in doubt, don't click. Right? Just delete it and move on. But if it is something that you've signed up for and you just don't want it, you're probably safe unsubscribing. If it is true spam, meaning it's something you've never signed up for, it's not even something, if you think about a work email, here at Cutler, we get a lot of financial services emails. By and large, I don't think we signed up for them. I think they got them from someplace, but they're not true spam necessarily. That one's a little bit of the harder gray area, but the true spam, the stuff that you look at and say, this is absolutely just spam. In Outlook, you're going to drag that to the spam, because what the value of that is then your mail provider, whether it's Gmail or Microsoft or your work, is going to log all of the factors, where it came from, why it existed, what words they used, and they're going to use that to get better and better at blocking spam for everybody. So that's kind of your wearing mask public good that you can do on email, is on true spam, drag it to the spam, to the junk mail or spam folder, and let the companies help kind of weed that out in the future. And then Jessica, we had a question on hotel Wi-Fi's. You mentioned Airbnbs. Are hotel Wi-Fi's any safer? Is this really anytime you're out in public?
Right. It's anytime you're out in public, not at home or your secure business. So hotels, yes, definitely use a VPN. Any coffee shops, airports, Airbnbs, yes, use that. And then I just wanted to touch on the junk email topic of now most email domains will have their own kind of filter for, you can set it up to your primary inbox versus like your promotional or other inbox. So you can put like your primary contacts that you want to see up front, and then everything else will kind of go into another inbox. Like that's what I have for Gmail. So all of my, shopping promotions, and every time I buy from Amazon, it all goes into a separate email, so I don't get flooded with all of those promotions and spam emails in my general inbox. And I know that Outlook has the same type of feature, so that can also be useful.
Sorry, Jessica. We also got a question on VPNs, and I just want to kind of clarify something, because I know you've talked about this before and probably didn't want to duplicate it here. One of the values of VPNs is to, I guess, shield your information from others. But another is the secure website. Can you just spend a second making sure people understand that just because you're not on a VPN doesn't mean that your banking information is up for grabs by somebody on a nefarious Wi-Fi?
Oh, right. So whenever you're online or on a website, you want to make sure that it either has the HTTPS in the name of it. The S stands for secure, or it'll has the closed padlock to know that it's an encrypted and safe site. If it has the open padlock, or usually a lot of browsers now will like have a red bar across the top saying that it's an unsecured site, and are you sure you want to continue? So you want to make sure it has the HTTPS or the closed padlock to know that it's encrypted and secure and a legitimate site.
Okay, and we had a question. Do you have a recommended application to block mobile spam texts? And I can't think of one, Jessica. I don't know if you've used one.
I have not used one, although I was thinking about using it because I've gotten a lot of them lately and recently because of the election and also because of charities. But no, I haven't heard of that, but I will definitely look into that and send that around to all of the participants here today so that they know about it.
Yeah, I wish I had come up with one.
Yeah.
I did not have the same level of frustration with the spam text messages, so maybe I just got lucky.
Yeah.
Or I live in rural Oregon and nobody wants to send me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there are a couple other questions. We will follow up with you individually, or your advisor will be in touch. As a reminder, this will be on our website. If you would like to share it around with anybody that you know, friends or families, please feel free to do so. And we do have the entire history of Jessica's six-part cybersecurity posted to our website as well. Feel free to check those out. I think there's some really great information in there. And Jessica, I really appreciate you taking the time today to help us out with this important topic. And have a great day, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we will talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, everyone.